Hey Mom and Dad, welcome to Primary Insights for Come Follow Me. I'm Aaliyah Goff with Rising Moon Adventures. This week's lesson is we have entered into a covenant with Him. And let me show you how to get to this week's lesson if you are new to the Gospel Library app. So this right here is the Gospel Library app, available on any phone, and such an amazing app. When it opens, then it will be not in the lesson. It will be at the home screen, and you can click on the Come Follow Me, and then the Primary Manual, Book of Mormon, and then we are in May on the third week. And there you can see we're going to be covering Mosiah 18 through 24. And if we scroll down, the first section is called When I Am Baptized, I Make a Covenant with God. And in that section, I am going to be using, I put it away. I'm going to be using my story of Alma and the waters of Mormon. And most of the pieces in there are going to look very similar to the download or your set if you've purchased one. And a few pieces might look a little bit different, but there'll be something that you can substitute for it if you want. The questions that I am going to ask after we talk a little bit about some of the covenants that we make and how Alma described them to his people. The questions that I'm going to leave at the end of the video are: how can you keep or practice the covenants that you've made if you're baptized? Keep them. And if you haven't been baptized yet, how can you practice those same covenants? And then the other question that I am going to suggest is, how have you noticed other people keeping those covenants? Then in section 2, and I'm showing you how I follow it in the Gospel Library app, so that if you decide you want to be the one that teaches your kids, you know exactly what I've been using, and you can still use those download pieces or whatever, or you can follow along with my lesson, whatever works best for you. But that second section is called When I Am Baptized, I Become a Member of Jesus Christ's Church. So then we are just going to talk a little bit about what Mosiah suggested that the people needed to commit to before they became members, and then what they would do as members of the church, and how we follow those same counsels today. And the question that I'm going to leave as the suggested question for that section is, how can we care for each other as members? And then I will be posting songs underneath the first two sections and a little video clip under the third section. The third section, if we scroll down, is God Can Make My Burdens Light. And in that section, we are going to talk about the story that I'm going to use is the people of Mosiah, and the story from there is Alma and the land of Zarahemla. So we're going to talk a little bit about what happened after Alma and his people escaped into the wilderness when King Noah's men were looking for them, and how they built a city, and how they were attacked by the Lamanites and taken into bondage, and how the Lord lightened their burdens and then eventually helped them to escape. So that's what we're going to cover in that section. And then the final question that I'm going to leave as a suggested question is, who is someone that you know that you could help lift their burden? Or what is a burden that you maybe are carrying that Jesus could help lift? And Next week, we will be covering, I will be using my story, Alma the Younger, and I will post a link that you can find that in my shop. I left that up on the desk, so I can't show you what it looks like, but that's the story that we'll be using next week. So if you want to order it and have those pieces ready for your kids, or order the download, it's always good for them to have something hands-on so that they are learning more and remembering better. Thank you so much for joining me.